Welcome to the Scottish Fiesta and Hot Hatch Championship with the Mini Cooper S Cup as well. Simon Smale on pole position from Ryan Stirling with Peter Cruikshank and Stuart Scott. It's going to be pretty exciting, that's for sure. Simon Smale delighted to get his first pole position and front row. Lorne Murray, Russell Morgan, Stephen Gray and Jen Marr run out the rest of the field. The Mini Cooper Cup, Ollie Mortimer, Stuart Buchan, John McGladrigan and Angus Tosh. As we already have a full complement of lights on the Beatson's Building Supply Bridge. Away we go, down towards Duffus Dip. Simon Smale gets a good launch. He'll be pretty happy with that one as we go on board with Russell Morgan trying to go 3 wide underneath the Beatson's Building Supply Bridge. Breathe in, everybody, as we go back to see the Mini Cooper S cars. Away they go. And down towards Duffus Dip. Bit of a breeze in the background, but look at that lovely blue sky sunshine as Smale leads through turn 3, which is McIntyre's. There's Lorne Murray in the challenge car. Car built to a slightly lesser, lower, cheaper specification, but able to do just as good lap times, it would seem. Mortimer leads the Mini Cooper S. Charges, he goes over the crest of the chicane. And he doesn't have a Paul Wilson to play with this weekend, and he also almost didn't have a Stuart Buchan to play with this weekend because he was about to throw that into the scenery. But a massive slide through chicane which he managed to hold in control, as into the hairpin comes Simon Smale. He's hot into the hairpin. Oh, Simon Smale understeers through the middle of the corner, loses the lead, and he's down to 3rd place. Disaster for him because through ahead of him goes Russell Morgan and also Ryan Stirling. So Simon Smale, a little bit of a rush of blood to the head going in there, just carried too much speed, possibly saw in his mirrors the move coming from Ryan Stirling in the white car. Tried to cover that. This is a good camera view looking back at Simon Smale, and he's going up the inside of Russell Morgan. It's a late manoeuvre. Doesn't happen, no, doesn't happen. And they've all changed a bit more as well as they go through down Butchers and up towards chicane now. Jockeying for positions, it would appear, in the Fiestas is happening quite a lot here, and already Ollie Mortimer has dispensed with Jen Marr as they go up the back straight towards Clark Corner. Stuart Buchan in his Mini still behind John McGladrigan. Stuart Scott in the middle of the Fiesta battle, and just look at this. This is fabulous just now. Stephen Gray tailing us towards the hairpin, and that's a frightening sight as we look at Ryan Stirling, car number 33. Through the hairpin, chased by Simon Smale. Then behind him, good grief, it looks terrifying. But Stuart Scott were on board with this man, Russell Morgan, and we're in a flying V formation up the main straight because here comes Oliver Mortimer to try and go past everybody as we go underneath the Beatson's Building Supply Bridge with our new camera mount point there. This is a good view way down the valley towards Stirling, and also lets us see the cars coming over the crest of the hill. More importantly, as we go back through the top of Duffus Dip, Fiestas and Minis are now well and truly fighting their way down through the twisty part of Knockhill here. Ollie Mortimer, one thing he is good at dealing with is traffic, and he gets his way through as somebody removes a floppy bollard at the back of the pack. Through goes Stirling, through goes Smale, then it's Mortimer, then it's Scott, then it's Morgan as they all bounce away through. Cruikshank was the next car to come through, and behind Cruikshank we've got everybody else. Stephen Gray still very much in that battle, but Ryan Stirling looking good for a victory just now as Ryan, and he is also the representative for this class. So if you fancy going Fiesta racing, catch up with Ryan in the paddock. There's also a good bit of support from Farmer Autocare towards this championship for the Fiestas, Hot Hatch and Mini Cooper S Cup as they make their way over the crest of the hill. Let me have a quick look at my smart timing screen and I'll tell you an update of the fastest lap just now. It goes to Ollie Mortimer with a 58.2 second lap. Smart timing with their partner Edinburgh Watch Company. The timing screen giving me the updates I need. And Mortimer is just colossal, isn't he? 58.2. The next best mini lap is a minute point 4. So Ollie Mortimer really is trying hard as he can. And Stuart Buchan looks like he's really struggling with oversteer in the back of that car. Every shot through the chicane, that car is completely sideways, and that just kills his lap speed and momentum as Mortimer now comes up behind Ryan Stirling. Ryan Stirling gets his line through the corner. He's still under a bit of pressure from Simon Smale. He can't relax too much as out of the hairpin. Mortimer will just use a little bit extra power the Mini Cooper S has got. It's not a great deal, but past he goes over the crest of the hill and past race control in towards Duffus Dip once again, turn 1. As we look further back into the mid-pack, everybody's starting to just space out that little bit now as Mortimer drifts beautifully. See, the car was almost in a lovely four-wheel drifting. It wasn't really controlling that with the steering wheel. It was just floating through the corner. And Mortimer has been here so many times before to come and challenge Ollie for a win. Well, it's going to take some doing. As Stuart Buchan, that time we see him going through the chicane. Thankfully, doesn't have a big moment on the exit of the corner. But Ryan Stirling still sees car number 67 in his mirrors, and car number 3 behind 67 is Stuart Scott. So Simon Smale coming under pressure from Stuart Scott now towards the end of this race. As Mortimer throws it past all the marshals and spectators. But look at this, yeah, Stirling's getting caught by Smale, and Smale's getting caught by Scott. And then behind him we've got Stuart Buchan. Behind him John McGladrigan goes through the shot. Then Cruikshank, Morgan, and everybody else, Stephen Gray, Lorne Murray. Stephen Gray I expected Stephen to make a little bit more progress than he has, as Mortimer has a huge moment over the top of Duffus. Look at the rubber that she laid down there. Oh, he caught that one just in the nick of time before the car bit him going through the left-hander off turn 2, but thankfully, for the camera, that looked brilliant. In the car, maybe not so. It does feel good, I suppose, as he flashes through the shot just now. And Ryan Stirling's now got a bit of a buffer over the guys that are battling behind him in the Fiestas, Simon Smale and Stuart Scott. You can see that now. Simon Smale and Stuart Scott coming under pressure from Stuart Buchan and John McGladrigan. They've caught up with those two Fiestas. Already caught up with the Spencer and passed him quite a few laps ago. Goes Ollie Mortimer as he goes through the shot just now. And then we get, oh, Mortimer, no, it's not Mortimer. Oh, Ryan Stirling, no, upside down at the hairpin. One of the crashes I have never seen happen before. And the spectator cannot believe what he's just seen in front of him. That was a manoeuvre from Simon Smale in towards the hairpin. He come into the hairpin there, and Ryan Stirling's car still turning, and the wheels just rode up the bodywork off. And Ryan Stirling gets out the car. Oh, he's not a happy one, and you can imagine why. But the wheels rode up the bodywork off Simon Smale's car, and the car just rolled over. So thankfully, a very gentle roll, but the car, I've never seen a car land upside down there at the hairpin in my life, and they will have to bring a safety car out or a race stoppage for that one, because the car upside down in the gravel at the exit of the hairpin is not a place which you can call safe. Poor Ryan Stirling was really doing nothing wrong there, and Simon Smale come up the inside, and 2-1 just didn't go. Ryan got out the car. You could see just how angry he was, and I'm pretty sure I could even hear him shouting in the background as through the corner goes Buchan and McGladrigan and then the rest of the Fiestas, and they'll probably not believe what they've just seen happen there to poor Ryan Stirling. But that's racing, anything can happen as we go on towards the end of it here. And still no safety car and no race stoppage, so that car in the gravel trap surely being left as we go on towards the end of this race. We look back and see Stuart Scott coming through Duffus Dip, and he's chased by Simon Smale, the man who was caught up in that Ryan Stirling moment. And they make their way down through Butcher's turn 4 onto 5 and 6, the chicane, the left and the right, and then up the back straight towards Clark Corner. Peter Cruikshank as well, a little bit on his own now, and Peter won't be happy with that one. He loves the battle, he lives for the battle on the racetrack, and right now he'll be doing everything in his power. Mind you, he has got past Russell Morgan and Stephen Gray, so it's been pretty good so far. I wish the camera would just pan a little bit more to the right hand side there so we can see if the marshals have tried to make that car safe, or what they've done with it. Because Ryan Stirling out of the race while leading, and a bizarre accident at the hairpin. We can see Ryan was perfectly okay though. He did get out of the car, and he was, shall we say, none too happy. As we see the rest of the field all flowing over the crest of the hill and getting towards the sharp end of the race as we look back through Duffus Dip, getting down towards McIntyre's. And we're graced with some great weather today, and that helps the Fiestas, although the heat does tend to make the tyres go off that a little bit quicker, as Stephen Gray has a nibble at the back of Russell Morgan. Just a lovely little tap into the back corner there. going to say quarter, but it wasn't quite. It was the back corner of the bumper. And Stephen just saying hello, I'm here, but then a big hunk of sausage curb as well, as Stuart Scott ahead of Simon Smale. And Peter Cruikshank right on the back of them now as well. So Cruikshank has finally woken up in this race. It's taken quite a time, but Peter is well and truly there now. As we see the battle coming back in towards the hairpin, the camera pans round. McGladrigan goes very wide through the corner. Then we get Stuart Scott, Simon Smale and Peter Cruikshank all together as we come up towards the finish line. The cars cross there, the start line over the crest of the hill, and McGladrigan is in some sort of trouble there. And we also should mention Angus Tosh didn't start the race. Angus was a non-starter, which is a disaster. 4 minis qualified and 3 started the race, along with the rest of the Fiestas. As we see the battle intensifying here with Russell Morgan and Stephen Gray. Stephen Gray had a little look towards the inside of Butcher's there, but Russell had enough speed who could hold that off. And is that the McGladrigan car smoking now going into the circuit? It did look like it was a little bit too, a little bit smoky. He needs to watch out for that. As we come back to Stuart Buchan going through the hairpin here at Knockhill under some glorious sunshine, glorious weather, and we wait for the next cars to pop into view, and here they come. It's the battle of the Fiestas. Stuart Scott, Simon Smale and still Peter Cruikshank all glued together as they make their way up the main straight, and Stephen Gray still trying to get past Russell Morgan, and he's got the added worry of Lorne Murray behind him now. Gray has an overlap, but he's on the outside. He's going to have to try and go round the outside at Duffus Dip. That's an extremely brave manoeuvre if he can make it work. Amazing stuff. He's on the outside. No, you can see that Russell Morgan basically controlled that one. He would let the brakes off whenever Gray braked, just so Stephen couldn't go round the outside. But then he does put himself in a bit of a position, because if he runs wide, he will have to watch he doesn't go down the escape road, as Simon Smale is trying extremely hard now, as is Russell Morgan. Big moment through the chicane there for Morgan, and that's going to scrub speed off up the back straight. He might be under attack going in towards Clark Corner if he doesn't watch. As we come back to pick up Stuart Buchan, and Stuart comes through the hairpin and up the main straight. And on board with Russell Morgan, you can see him sitting on the middle of the road, almost on the right hand side of the road, being very defensive here. There can't be somebody up his inside, can there? There's hardly any room there. Understeers a bit through, and Lorne Murray goes past everybody. What a manoeuvre from Lorne Murray. And it looks like Stephen Gray is now going to pass Lorne Murray on the exit of the hill. So Russell Morgan loses 2 positions there. The power battle between Lorne Murray up the hill with Stephen Gray. Oh no! Simon Smale! Wow, what car control? No, maybe it wasn't car control. He takes Peter Cruikshank off. Cruikshank goes off in avoidance. They're both rejoin the track almost at the exit of McIntyre's. Cruikshank still having some sort of accident, goes over the sausage curb. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was just a little bit too messy for anybody's liking. And Stephen Gray has to go over the sausage curb through chicane. I can't wait to read the Marshal's report on that one. I would imagine it would be 3 or 4 sheets of A4 paper. But as we pause for breath and try and figure out who's actually in that position now, we can tell you that Stuart Scott leads the Fiestas as he comes in towards the hairpin. And if he was watching that in his mirror, he'll probably still be chuckling to himself coming through the hairpin. That wily old fox that he is. And it's still Cruikshank from Smale, from Gray. And that exploded the Fiestas there as taking the checker flag goes Stuart Scott. Peter Cruikshank gets a fine second. Simon Smale, well, if he's a cat, he's just used up 1 or 2 of his lives with that manoeuvre down at McIntyre's. But Mortimer wins outright on the road ahead of Stuart Buchan. Stuart Scott, Peter Cruikshank and Simon Smale come home for the top 3 in the Fiestas with Gray, Morgan, Murray and Marr. Let's head down for some post-race interviews.
The Cooper S is Stu Buchan. Stu, that was not as wild a mini race as we've seen, but still, second place is not too bad.
Well, second. It's not really its last, isn't it? But no,
Ever the optimist.
Yeah, it was the first few corners were quite interesting, to be honest. I got a good start up against Ollie. Tried to close the door on him a bit. I ran a bit wide at the top of the Duffers and allowed Ollie and John to get through. And first time up through the chicane, it was kind of giving me a bit of a tank slapper at the top. So a wee bit of catch up. I know John's had a few issues with his gear stick, unfortunately, gear selector. But the first few laps that I was racing against John was good fun. Yep, enjoyed it.
And with Ollie being, significantly quicker, say, in qualifying, have you got to the bottom of just exactly what he's up to?
I haven't got a clue. His car is 4 mile an hour faster through the speed trap, so I don't know where that's coming from, but I think I need to go and do some homework on Moncarry.
Well done. So, Ollie, that was a nice little side swipe there, trying to get away, but yeah, first place again in the minis. Right, what is the secret? How are you managing to do this?
Well, looking at my starts, you wouldn't think it was a secret because I make a disaster of them all the time, but I just managed to get in front of Stuart there. It was quite close for the first corner, but after that, him and John battled a wee bit, so I just got away. And it's meant to be 5 cars out this weekend, mini-wise, but Dave had an incident in testing, so he was not out, and poor Angus Tosh didn't make it out. He's got clutch problems, so it was only 3 hours and we still had fun. But just get your head down and treat every lap like a qualifying lap, and then that's you.
Excellent, well done. Ollie Mortimer taking the win there. A fantastic race for yourself.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. See, when the gap opened up and I went through, I saw Ryan and Simon having a fight. I thought, yes, don't fall off. Then Peter came along and was holding Simon back. And I thought, plenty of room. And of course, Peter came off, and I thought, yes. But that's my first win since 2005.
And that is a mega achievement.
That was an XR2 against Peter again. And that was way back then, so that's my first race win. Happy.
Now I'm looking at Peter's machine, a wee dent in the front there. Just it's fine.
For a fee.
Well done. There we go then. First place in the STs for our Stuart Scott there, and second place we'll have a little chap, Peter Cruikshank.
Yep.
Your race suit has changed colour again. It's looking more
indeed.
white now.
Well, my last one, the black one, was so old that when I tried to get sorted out my race kit on Friday afternoon, I discovered the zip had completely gone. So that race suit is for the bin. This is one I've borrowed for the weekend.
20 years, that's just terrible value, isn't it?
I know that.
So second place, obviously, it was action-packed. Talk us through it.
It was incredibly action-packed. I had a lousy... I made a decent enough start, but then I seemed to get swamped by people from behind both sides. And I thought, oh, this is my race gun. But as it progressed, I began to get closer to people who were scrapping in front. I think the minis helped me slightly because they held up people either in front of me or behind me at critical times that gave me an advantage, so I was able to get away. And then the last few laps when I was following Stuart and Simon, and the two of them were scrapping, I thought, all I've got to do is stay close and something is going to happen. And right enough, it did eventually. And I got past Simon, and then Simon and I had a real close couple of laps. The last lap, I think, I didn't notice the last lap board. I've never been so glad to see the checkered flag in all my life. The last lap, I defended Simon into the hairpin. He'd got the run on me out of the hairpin and was ahead of me turning into Duffus. But he'd obviously turned in a bit too quick and lost it going down Duffus. I didn't slow up enough to give him space to sort himself out. I thought, here's a chance, I'm through. We collided. I think he must have gone down the grass on the outside. I went down the grass and the gravel on the inside and rejoined just before the chicane, just in front of him. So it was an action-packed race.
Peter, see when you give up your race and you fancy coming and getting a job in the commentary tower?
No, I couldn't do that.
Brilliant work there, Peter Cruikshank in second place. A lovely turn-by-turn reenactment there. But Simon Smale, third place in the Fiestas. Yeah, next time, eh?
Next time, yeah. Aye, couple of errors, forced errors, a lot of close racing. Those two guys at the front, their race craft, the blocking ability is phenomenal. That's one of my fourth race, so I've got it to learn. But those two guys at the front, Stuart and Peter, they did an incredible job of holding it together. I didn't.
Excellent, well done on the third place.
It's the end of the race yesterday, and unfortunately, whatever went wrong is not fixable overnight, so he's not going to join this race. But it's still
Race number 2 for the Scottish Fiestas Hot Hatch and Mini Cooper S Cup in association with Farmer Autocare sees race 1 winner Stuart Scott on the podium from Peter Cruikshank. Oh, he's even got a new race suit. Doesn't Peter look good? and very lucky to get away with that in race number 1 when he was unfortunately caught up with Simon Smale. We're already under starters orders. We've got a full complement of lights. Lights out and down towards Duffy's Dip we go. Cruikshank looks like he's got the jump on Stuart Scott as we head down towards turn 1. We're on board once again with Russell Morgan. Hand at the top of the wheel. Looking a bit too comfy for my liking as we come in there. Who's that trying to go round the outside? That looks like it was Stephen Gray, and if it was, yeah, Stephen Gray goes round the outside, gets himself into a fine third place in that white car. We look back from Morgan at Lorne Murray. And Lorne Murray goes down through Butchers, and Genmar just hanging off the back of Lorne just now as they go through the chicane. We wait for the minis to spring into our view, and I would imagine once again, yes, it'll be that man, Ollie Mortimer. Sounded a little bit downbeat actually. He wants more competition, so come on guys, get those minis fixed, get them out on track. Try and pass the roadblock in front of the minis just now would be Simon Smale and Russell Morgan side by side and towards the hairpin. Braking, Smale brakes a little bit later. Russell Morgan tries to brake a little bit later as well. Shuffles the wheel, gets through the corner and holds the position from Simon Smale on the exit of the corner. Ahead of him, well, it's side by side for Peter Cruikshank and Stephen Gray. Those guys have been racing together for quite some time in Fiestas as they're side by side over the crest of the hill. Gray with the overlap. What's Cruikshank going to do here though? Peter Cruikshank does get back up the inside. Brave manoeuvre side by side over the top of the hill. Side by side through turn 2 Leslie's. They're in towards McIntyre's. Whoa, way in the distance for us to see. Very difficult. But already Ollie Mortimer is on the back of the leading pack of minis. This is sensational stuff from Ollie Mortimer. Coming through the field so quickly and managing to cut his way towards the front and then pull some skids as he likes to do as we look back towards Lorne Murray. Here comes the mini of Mortimer. He's just about to come up the inside of Russell Morgan, and Russell's going to have to watch that doesn't leave him open for attack from Murray. As Stuart Scott leads from Peter Cruikshank and Stephen Gray as they get to the hairpin. Simon Smale defends from Mortimer, doesn't want to let him past on the way in there because he probably was aware that that would let Russell Morgan have an attack on him going in towards the hairpin. Now Ollie Mortimer's got to try and thread the needle here because these 3 Fiestas ahead of him are all in a very tight battle and they will not want to let Mortimer past easily. He's going to really have to fight here, and something happened at the top of the hill there. Cruikshank was wide on the way in. Stuart Scott already has a comfortable buffer. Gray goes up the inside of Cruikshank. Smale looks at the back of Cruikshank as well as they make their way through turn 3 and up towards the chicane. So thankfully Mortimer has already worked his way through the traffic by the time they go in towards the entrance to Clark Corner, and that is something pretty sensational to tell you the truth. Through Clark Corner they all go, and we are already at the hairpin with Russell Morgan looking at the back or the side of Simon Smale. I wonder where Russell was going there, to tell you the truth. As we come up the main straight, a couple of looks in the mirrors. Stuart Scott leads the way for the Fiestas, side by side for Cruikshank and Gray once again as they go over the crest of the hill. But once again Peter on the inside line, that's where he needs to be. He holds the ace card as they come over the top of the hill and in towards Duffy's Dip. And there you go, Ollie Mortimer. Car number 70 leads the way in the Mini Cooper S Cup as we go back on board with this man here, Russell Morgan, through the chicane and up the back straight. Russell Morgan, another little check of the mirrors because Lorne Murray won't be far away. That's Stuart Buchan ahead of him just now. Through Clark Corner they come, doing well to stay within the confines of the track there. No real track limit things kicking up. Nobody's in the gravel or kicking up dust, which is good to see. And just as that happens, Angus Tosh he decides to put a couple of wheels into the gravel trap as we see Mortimer coming through the hairpin in front of the marshals, who get the greatest view in the house to be actually trackside. And then Stuart Buchan is trying to thread his way through all of this just now, and it's getting quite tight as Stuart Scott has a comfortable lead in the Fiestas. And look at this, Buchan tries to go past on the main straight. He was going to pop out there, but there was just no room at the end. Stephen Gray goes up the inside of Peter Cruikshank, and that's where Stuart Buchan tried to go. So Buchan couldn't get past on the main straight there, and Cruikshank now has a little look at the back of Stephen Gray, but Stephen can hold that position as they come through McIntyre's and this twisty section. So Stephen Gray, good overtaking there. That's taken quite a few laps to make that stick, He's always had an overlap on Peter out the hairpin, but Peter was always on the inside line, and that really made it his corner by the time they would get to Duffy's Dip. As we can see, no Ryan Stirling in this race after that little incident earlier on in race number 1 when the car rolled at the hairpin in an extremely bizarre incident where Simon Smale came up the inside, and it was more that Ryan's car kind of drove up the side of Simon's bodywork. Such as the grip of these tyres, the car then just rolled over very slowly onto its roof and slid into the gravel trap. A very bizarre incident, but unfortunately probably quite costly for Ryan, and he will be taking no further part in this race. Maybe get a windscreen put in the car and maybe see if they can get it fixed. The guys at PCR, Paul Curtis Racing, they can do great wonders to cars that have been bashed. Oh, no. Talking of bashing, into the tyre and wrecked cell goes Stephen Gray and Angus Tosh, and that was a needless accident. 2 cars coming together through the left-hander, and that was quite a hit as well. Oh, what a shame. Tosh starts to get out of the car. Stephen Gray's car, you can see that's had quite a big bang in it. The front left corner, very, very bent on that one, and both drivers want nothing to do with that or each other, and a strange coming together there. It looked like Tosh was passed, then the next thing the 2 cars come together and off they go. And that's just what you don't want to have happen when you're already a little bit thin on cars, with Ryan Stirling rolling in the first race, and then that Angus Tosh, very lucky that didn't go upside down there. The car had a good bit of air underneath it when it was on 2 wheels, and it looks like we will be having a safety car for that one, because the barrier has had the protective recticell removed from it, so it goes back to the bare tyre wall. So there's the cars off on the left hand side there. Quite a sizable accident that. Marshals all in attendance, taking some extra safety gear, fire extinguishers and whatever else they require. But yeah, the safety car flags and boards are out. The waved yellow flags and the SC board signalling the safety car is going to be coming out on track for the Farmer Autocare Scottish Fiesta and Hot Hatch Mini Cooper S Cup race here. And the race has been neutralised with that incident with Angus Tosh and Stephen Gray, and a great shame for both those drivers. There's a safety car picking up our race leader Ollie Mortimer, who is way out on his own. His fastest lap in his first race was a 58-second lap. He's done a 57.6 in this one, and he really is marching along towards a championship as Ollie Mortimer. So we'll wait for everybody else to catch up behind Mortimer, and you can see how big the lead he had was. As into view now comes Stuart Scott with Stuart Buchan and everybody else in tow, and that after Lorne Murray. Do we still have Jen Marr and Russell Morgan? I think we do, yes we do, as we check out our smart timing screen with Edinburgh Watch Company through the come. Safety car pulls in, top of the tri-oval. That's what we like to see. We are going racing again, and can Stuart Buchan, well, he's been given a lifeline here. The lifeline was that Ollie Mortimer's lead disappears. Mortimer gets a good jump on Stuart Scott though, up the main straight. The green flag waves. Good clear-up work from the SMRC and SMMC marshal teams there to get that all out of the way on the entrance towards turn 3. Russell Morgan is our high-speed cameraman as he goes over the crest of Duffy's Dip. Buchan has got past Stuart Scott, and that's what he needed to do. He needed to do that to try and give him some sort of hope, but Ollie Mortimer has already just gone. The SciTech Racing Fiesta of Simon Smale, run out with the PCR garage in the main paddock here, Paul Curtis Racing. If you fancy one of these little cars, why not go and speak to the guys at PCR? They're more than happy to help you and point you in the right direction of the Farmer Autocare Scottish Fiesta Hot Hatch Mini Cooper S Cup. As we come in towards the hairpin, Ollie Mortimer points the nose of that car through the apex of the hairpin, accelerates up the main straight. He's already got a lovely comfortable buffer over Stuart Buchan as we kind of hold our breath as Russell Morgan understays his way through the hairpin just now, and he is still in a bit of a battle here as Russell Morgan and Simon Smale. Well, yeah, all action. Those two guys alone are enough action when they're not racing together. So let's see how this unfolds as Smale again sends it up the inside, and that's what that That was a full send there from Simon Smale. Morgan tries to go back up the inside into McIntyre. He does. Will he run wide on the exit? Will Smale cut back? Yes, he does. Yes, brilliant, brilliant Fiesta racing. And here comes Lorne Murray. Lorne Murray wants a piece of this. Two abreast through chicane will never work. And Russell Morgan bullies Simon Smale. I have to think Simon Smale's probably still remembering the incident he had with Peter Cruikshank and Ryan Stirling, and was just wanting to err on the side of caution there, because he wouldn't normally back out from that manoeuvre. As through the hairpin goes Mortimer, we await Stuart Buchan coming into view, and then we should get Stuart Scott, who is looking good here for a brace of victories this weekend. Stuart Scott goes up the main straight, over the crest off the hill and in towards Duffus Dip. And then the battle there, everybody else goes through, headed by Morgan, chased by Smale, with Lorne Murray ready to pick up any little bits of Fiesta that come his way. Simon Smale looks back towards inside, Russell Morgan covers that manoeuvre. They both bounce over the crest of Duffus Dip. And into Duff. Oh, McIntyre. Russell Morgan makes a massive error there, hits far too much sausage gear, pitches the car into two wheels. He had to steer away from that, or that car was going upside down there. So, good bit of driver instinct for Russell Morgan to recover from the initial error. But I've got to say, Simon Smale, he's seen possibly too much action this weekend already, and he'll be just wanting to get this race finished. I could imagine that as we see the cars coming through the hairpin just now towards the end of this race. Cruikshank, well, it's been a decent little race for Peter, as over the line goes Stuart Buchan to start another lap. Stuart Scott goes through, chased by Peter Cruikshank, and in towards the closing stages of this Fiesta race. Well, you can't say it's been boring. There has been a lot of action, and now they've got a few spots of rain on the camera lines that they're going to have to contend with. So Simon Smale here finds himself in third place in the Fiesta race, and that's pretty impressive stuff. Lorne Murray, though, might have some sort of manoeuvre to make towards the end of this race, and is trying and trying still is Russell Morgan after that frightening incident he had at McIntyre's turn 3 and through Clark's. Now you've got to say, Simon Smale, that was not tidy, that was very rough and kind of ragged, and has that left him lame on the run round towards the hairpin? We shall find out as Buchan leads the hairpin up the main straight, chased by Stuart Scott and Peter Cruikshank. Those two guys look pretty safe and secure in a first and second. The real eyes are all on this battle here for the last spot on the podium for the Fiesta ST Championship. Our flagman has arrived in the Marshalls Hut. That must mean we are on to the last lap or closing stages of this race, and Simon Smale still turns in there very, very sideways. Now, has he had some contact with another car through this race? Remind me. Yes, that car's maybe a little bit out of alignment as Lorne Murray now hits a sausage curb. What are these drivers doing? They're trying not to finish the race, and all this has brought Russell Morgan right back into this race. Russell could still be on for a podium towards the last couple of corners here as we go through Clark Corner and head towards the hairpin. The checker flag waves for Mortimer. He's already taken it. Stuart Buchan gets a fine second place on the road and in the minis, and winning the Fiestas will be Stuart Scott. Second place will be Peter Cruikshank, and up towards the line in third place it will be Simon Smale. Simon Smale takes that final step on the podium for the Scottish Fiesta Championship. Murray, Morgan and Marr, the 3Ms, run out the rest of the racers. Let's hand down for some post-race interviews.
You having a good weekend?
Well, 2 wins. First 2 wins in an ST. I started ST racing in 2008. Won the championship 2009 and never won a race, so that's 2 race wins this weekend, so I'm fair happy, excellent happy. So.
And how long have you been racing for? When did you first start?
I started in 2000 with the old XR2s, and I managed to win 2 races that in 2006. So that was my last time on the podium apart from yesterday, so fair happy. So.
Good result.
Still racing with the same guys, which is quite odd, but nah, I'm happy as long as I can do the same in the next race.
Well, best of luck, Stuart.
Thanks, Fiona.
Well done, Ollie. Another win for you. Getting a bit boring, and you made light work of that traffic right at the start.
Yeah, I mean, the car was going really well. I was trying to put in some good lap times there because we're down at Croft for the Mini Challenge Open class,
in August, so this is the last one before that. So go down there and hopefully put up a good fight. The car's not as highly tuned as their cars, but I'm sure the Vortex and A1 Automotive's help, they'll put together a good car and go down and fly the Scottish flag. But it wasn't eventful for me, that race. It was good, nice paced race. Car felt great all the way through. Although we did get the break with the safety car, I hope everyone's all right down there. It looked quite a bad one, but the marshals had it all in hand, and there was stones all over the track, but they had it cleared up in no time, so it was brilliant.
Good. Have you got another race today?
Yeah, we've got one more today. We had one yesterday. I got a win in that, and it was just pretty relatively straightforward. Big thanks to Edinburgh Watch Company, the championship sponsor as well. So everyone's supporting me and everything. It's great. So I need to go down further south and try and show them how it's done. So.
And hopefully you'll get more of a battle down there as well.
Well, you never know. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Ollie.
Cheers.
So I'm with Peter Cruikshank. You're an old dab hand now at this race in Malarkey, and you've got Stuart Scott back to keep you on your toes.
Yes, he's an old dab hand at it as well, but not quite as old as me.
You're quicker than me anyway.
Well, yes, but you haven't been on track for a while, have you?
I've not, no.
No, exactly, so you're a bit ring rusty.
Did you enjoy your battle today on track?
I did. Right, really, up until the safety car, it was a cracking race. And after that, it all became a bit processional, at least between myself and Stuart. But yes, it was getting on the podium and getting second place is always nice. It's not as nice as getting the first place, but it's not bad.
And I believe you had 3 wide at one point going into Duffus.
We did, you're quite right. I think it was myself, with Stephen on the outside, me in the middle, and a Mini in the inside. Yes, it's not normal.
It was good to watch anyway.
Good, and we all survived it as well, which was good. Yep.
Well, hopefully more of the same in race 3.
I would think so, yes. I mean, the first race was a cracker. This one was good fun, so I'm hoping for great things for the last race of the day.
Well, thanks very much, Peter.
Okay, no problem.
So, Stuart, another second place finish there in the Minis. Pretty pleased with that?
Yeah, happy with my driving today. Ollie got me off the line, unfortunately, to be honest. It's the only chance I'm going to ever get past Ollie is to try and beat him off the line, but I had too much wheel spin off the line this morning. Try and rectify that for this afternoon. Ollie's car's just far too quick. He's quick in a straight line, 4 mile an hour quicker up the straights. So that combined with Ollie's talent, he's better than me, So, but yeah, I'm happy and confident with my driving at the moment. Yeah.
Is there any fine tuning you can do to get that gap down?
I'm actually on used slick tyres today that were out yesterday. So my only chance possibly is by putting a new set of slicks on it, but I'll need to go and see if I'm allowed to put them on. So we'll see what happens.
See what the bank manager says.
Yeah, more like my wife.
Perfect. Well, thanks very much, Stuart.
No problem. Thank you.
Simon Smale as well, worth a mention. He's second and third. The car with orange wheels. Instead of that, in fact, I'm going to do
Welcome to the Farmer Autocare Scottish Fiesta Hot Hatch and Mini Cooper S Cup, and wow, look at the track conditions now. What a difference a couple of hours has made. We've had 2 races in glorious blue sky sunshine, and now Stuart Scott and Peter Cruikshank are on the front row of the grid in wet conditions with Smale and Murray, Morgan and Marr, Gray and Stirling, who we will not have on the grid. I've got to say, still no Ryan Stirling, unfortunately. Mortimer, well, has anybody out there got a Mini Cooper S that wants to come and race and beat Ollie Mortimer? If you do, I will give you a lovely helping hand along the way, and so will Ollie Mortimer as we're under starters orders. Let's see who gets this one. Full complement of lights. Away we go down towards Duffus Dip in the wet, completely different conditions. You can see the front of Stephen Gray's car with the red bumper as well. Great work by the guys at Paul Curtis Racing to get that fixed and back on track as Lauren Murray eases out of the brakes there. And up the inside goes Russell Morgan. The minis are all now started as well, but it's Stuart Scott and Peter Cruikshank. Now, Peter said it was quite processional earlier on when we heard from him, so looking good in his brand new race suit. We've got to say that as Russell Morgan goes up the inside. No, over the crest of the chicane, contact. And, well, Simon Smale can't suddenly go invisible there. Russell Morgan could see he was alongside him, and I don't know what he expected to happen there, but thankfully those cars have rejoined and got back underway. but really compromising his race earlier. Russell Morgan has got a bit of a challenge now to come back through the pack. We saw him do it in race number 2 though, remember. As we get to the hairpin and we see the leader, Stuart Scott and Peter Cruikshank, come through. Behind them, Simon Smale, and I imagine Simon will just be wanting this weekend to be over and not to have contact with any other cars. He's had a bit of a rough doing. And then Stephen Gray's behind him. Stephen Gray with the new red bumper. And why has he got a red bumper on? Well, if you didn't see race number 2, Angus Tosh and Stephen Gray had a coming together going through the left-hander turn 2, that's Leslie's. And they then both ended up bouncing through the gravel trap and into the recticel and tyre wall. And Angus Tosh was lucky not to go upside down, got to say that. But Angus is back on track for this race, as is Stephen Gray's got a new wing as well, you can see that. So great bit of work being done for Stephen Gray's car. John McGladrigan and Ryan Stirling, both non-starters, bit of a shame. So we'll hopefully get those guys back at another event later on during the year. Mortimer, just minding his own business just now, starting to catch up with the back of these Fiestas. These wet conditions, what changes do they make? Well, they don't change a tyre. That's for the Fiestas run on one type of tyre. But they will maybe have a couple of clicks here and there in the suspension just to soften the car off. Some drivers might even change rear springs, you never know. But the biggest thing I would imagine is to try and make sure the windscreens don't steam up, because you see that so many times in these saloon cars that drivers do all sorts of things to prepare the car. And then the next thing is they can't see where they're going because the windscreen's completely steamed up. So that is part of the preparation work that you've got to be doing. As Stuart Scott tippy-toes his way over the top of Duffy's Dip. 1, 2, 3, 4 on the road. And the next car up is Oliver Mortimer. So Scott and Cruikshank, two veterans of Scottish Fiesta racing, with Simon Smale, a relative newcomer to the SMRC paddock, and another veteran, Stephen Gray. I hope you don't mind me saying that, Stephen, but you don't have much of a comeback. Stephen Gray started racing Fiesta XR2s a long time ago, and he has just always loved his Fiesta racing. He's come and gone a few times, but he goes up the inside of Simon Smale there and takes third place away from Smale. So he's made that one work pretty well for himself. He'll be happy with that as we come in towards the apron once again, with the two leaders of the Fiestas and currently still outright lead of the race, although Ollie Mortimer is now arriving. He's just gone past the two Fiestas who would be third and fourth. That would be Gray and Smale, and he now has Cruikshank and Stuart Scott in his sights. As Stuart Scott will be just wanting this one to end quicker than you would imagine. Currently in the lead of the race. And it's so easy to make a mistake in these conditions. We've got to stress that so much. In the Farmer Autocare Scottish Fiesta and Hot Hatch Mini Cooper S Cup, or Mini Cooper S Championship, if you just breathe on that brake pedal too much, if you still hold on to the brakes a little bit as you turn in, if you're a little bit too violent on the steering wheel, it will have a big effect because the grip level is so low. And the car will then jump out from underneath. You've also got to watch the exit curbs. They're grippier than they used to be, but they're still a little bit slippier than the main track itself. And look how dark it is now as they come in towards the hairpin. Very dull. I'm surprised, yeah, well, Mortimer's got his lights on. I'm surprised a couple of other drivers don't have their lights on, but of course the driver's idea is then, if you have the lights on, that takes power away from the engine to charge the alternator. So Peter Cruikshank stays out of the way of Mortimer, and so does Stuart Scott. They need to have the rear rain lights on, but they don't need to have their front lights on. But when you're following a car, it's always nice to maybe have a little bit of lights on just to put the driver in front off. As Mortimer has now worked his way from the back of the Fiestas, and he now leads the overall race in his Mini as he comes through turn 3, chased by Scott, Cruikshank and Gray. Stephen Gray has wriggled away from Simon Smale and got himself into a pretty good podium spot. Now, is he going to follow Peter Cruikshank or will he attack? I can tell you right now it's going to be maximum attack from Stephen Gray. He will not be following for long. He will at some point have a shot. You can see Russell Morgan going around there with the side window down. So I'm thinking Russell Morgan's starting to struggle with a bit of visibility. He's got both windows down. He's trying to get some air in that car to clear the windscreen. But what happens when you open the windows? Well, it acts like a parachute and the car slows down an awful lot in the main straight. And in a one-make series, that is a disaster. As Ollie Mortimer put on a great display of car control through the hairpin for us here. A nice big slide. And as we go once again underneath the bridge here, and yeah, we're not blue sky sunshine anymore. You can't see down the valley towards Stirling. No, we're very much wet, and there doesn't seem to be too much in the way of pit crew on the pit wall for these drivers late in the day here at Autocare Racing Circuit. And can you blame them? No. Race starting at 5 o'clock for these guys. It's all fine when you're in the car, but if you're the man on the pit wall, it's having to do the timing and do everything for your race driver. Sometimes for these races, you just disappear back up to the garage. As through the chicane come the top three. Simon Smale all on his own now in a 4th place. Fine 4th place for Simon Smale, though still finding his feet in the Scottish Fiesta ST Championship, and yeah, finding his feet pretty well. The former bike racer, local man as well, as Ollie Mortimer with the Vortex exhaust sponsorship again. Yeah, Ollie Mortimer is now playing. I wonder, is he pulling the handbrake just a little bit to get through there, or is that just the way the car's set up? As he goes through, up the main straight, then it's Stuart Scott, Peter Cruikshank and Stephen Gray. Stephen Gray looks like he's having a manoeuvre now. He's got one working headlight, trying to put Peter Cruikshank off, and he is starting to run out of laps. If he wants to do something, he is going to have to do it pretty quickly. As we see them going over the top of Duffy's Dip, down through Leslie's and in towards McIntyre. Simon Smale charges on. Still like to know if Russell Morgan can see where he's going. As Mortimer bounces through the chicane, Stephen Gray is incoming for Peter Cruikshank. Cruikshank's going to have to watch here. Look at that gap. It's very much... Oh, Cruikshank makes a mistake. That's how easy it is, folks. Little mistake in the exit chicane. Gray will be up the inside at Clark's. Will Cruikshank give him that position? Yes, he doesn't have much in the way of a fight left, because that was done and dusted by the time they got to the turning point at Clark's. And then Gray controlled the rest of the corner through the heart of the apex and exit of it. And that is just how easy. Remember, I said earlier on, it's so easy to make a mistake. Peter Cruikshank, veteran that he is, will be kicking himself after that. Although he'll like the battle with Stephen Gray. And then Stephen Gray makes a mistake at the hairpin. A wheel in the gravel ruins your run up the main straight, and Peter Cruikshank just starts to creep back up alongside. Peter's going to have to take a brave pill going into the first corner, though. What's going to happen here? He's alongside, he's on the inside. Again, the manoeuvre is done. So Stephen Gray's worked so hard to catch up with Peter. Then Peter makes a mistake, lets him pass, and then straight away Stephen Gray makes another error. So one error deserves another error. Easy to say in the commentary box. But I don't think this one's finished now. But what has happened is let Stuart Scott off the lead, and away they go. Stuart Scott has got a nice lead, and this is looking good for 3 victories in the Fiesta STs for Stuart Scott. And he will be very happy as he heads home to Spitalfield with that in his back pocket. As Simon Smale, we saw the back of the car before we saw the front of the car coming into view there. Mortimer comes through the hairpin, and now a bit of trim starting to hang off the side of Russell Morgan. And I can imagine that's from the previous earlier incident with Simon Smale at the chicane. As they go up towards the finish line once again, this battle with Cruikshank and Gray is definitely not finished. As we get towards the closing end of this race, Stephen Gray is going to have to be clever about this, because I think, well, Peter's made one mistake. I can't see him making another mistake. Peter's very hard on himself if he does make a mistake, as every racing driver is. But in towards McIntyre's they come. Stephen Gray homes in through the twisty section. Just got to get through the chicane, thread the eye of the needle. And Peter Cruikshank does that perfectly. Doesn't make another mistake this time as they go up the back straight towards Clark. Simon Smale is still not giving up, has he? As he comes flying through the chicane there. No, he hasn't. Visibility looks pretty good for all these drivers as we look back through their windscreens, as Mortimer has dispensed once again with Jen Marr. Up the main straight goes Mortimer, and there's Angus Tosh as well. Angus back on track after that incident with Stephen Gray earlier on, and this is Lorne Murray just ahead of Russell Morgan. Russell with the windows down in that car. It must be freezing in there. As he goes over the crest of Duffy's Dip, Lorne Murray driving sensational. Up the inside goes Russell Morgan. Wow, can he stop that? Yes, he can. Does he run a bit wide? Yes, he does. He tries to cover the exit of the corner, but it looked like Lorne Murray was about to go back past. But we've gone back towards the main straight for Cruikshank and Stephen Gray as they come through the tight and twisty part of Knockhill. And we want to try and catch up with that Russell Morgan battle, but has Cruikshank made a mistake there? No, he hasn't. Looks like Jen Marr possibly struggling to see it with that windscreen with visibility. As up the back straight go these Fiestas. And Simon Smale, yeah, he's definitely still trying. God loves a tryer, Simon, and you're not giving up. That's good to see, keeping the pressure up, because one mistake from these guys at the front and it could let Simon Smale back into it. Lorne Murray didn't get back past Russell Morgan, as we see Russell going up the back straight, chased as well by Stuart Buchan and then Angus Tosh. So that was a good manoeuvre from Russell Morgan. He was very, very brave. As the cars cross the finish line there, weighing the distance now is that car there of Peter Cruikshank and Stephen Gray. And what's going to happen with that? Is Stephen Gray going to manage to get past, or he's having a look at the top of Duffus? Yes, he is. He passes him into Duffus dip. Brave manoeuvre. So good stuff from Stephen Gray. He's now got to hold that together for a lap to try and get himself back under control, because he got the lead before and then a little rush of blood to the head, a little bit too much throttle at the hairpin, possibly understeered the car in towards the gravel trap, and that was a bit of a disaster for him. But right now he is holding Peter Cruikshank at bay. Stuart Scott won't know that's happened behind him. He won't really care that's happened behind him, to tell you the truth. He's leading the race. He'll be desperate to see the checker flag next time round, or this time round. That's what he wants to see. As we see the rest of the guys all making their way in a very damp, wet knockout. Still spectators on the banking. Bit of kudos towards them, as up the main straight comes Stuart Scott. He has been sensational this weekend at Knockhill Racing Circuit. Over the line goes Jen Marr. Let's hope Jen Marr doesn't get involved in the Stephen Gray Peter Cruikshank battle. I imagine she will make it very easy for those guys to get past, open up at the inside of Duffus or something. But Jen is about to get done. Yeah, perfect from Jen Marr there. Peter Cruikshank gets past as well, and Simon Smale will probably robustly find his way past, going in towards McIntyre, one would imagine. But Stephen Gray, well, it's been a classy drive from Stephen. He's just got to hold off Peter for the remainder of this lap, one would imagine, and he will be delighted with that one. 2 attempts to get past Peter, and it worked the second time after a little mistake at the hairpin, as Ollie Mortimer comes through the hairpin in trademark Mortimer style, accelerates up towards the checker flag, and Ollie Mortimer wins the Farmer Autocare Fiesta Hot Hatch and Mini Cooper S Cup. Into the hairpin comes Stuart Scott. He has been dominant in the Fiestas this weekend, taking 3 victories, and very well deserved victories as well, as he crosses the line now, and ahead of Stephen Gray, who holds off Peter Cruikshank, and Simon Smale comes home after an eventful race once again in 5th place. 6th place, that will fall towards Russell Morgan, and in 7th place we get Lorne Murray with Stuart Buchan, Angus Tosh and Jen Marr running out all the racers. Let's head down for some post-race stuff, and we'll see you next time.
3 out of 3, you made that look easy.
Well, once I got a good clean start was all I needed, and Peter and whoever was behind me kept fighting, so it was good. But it was starting to get slippy. But to get 3 wins in a weekend, I'm just over the moon. Over the moon.
You going to be back next time?
I'll be back for the end of the year, and that's it. Hanging up my race boots and my helmet. I'm stopping. Aye.
I've heard that before.
I know, aye, yeah, that was 10 years ago. But no, I enjoyed the day. Aye, just a pity Ryan had an accident yesterday, or it would have been more on the grid. But nah, really, really happy. Thank you.
Good. Well done, Stuart.
Thank you.
Ollie, another P1 finish. Rumour has it you were on slicks. What were you thinking?
Well, it's only me and my dad, and the rain was heavy, and I was sitting on the grid, and I'm like, this is a big mistake. This should be wets. But I thought, well, if Stuart and everyone else isn't going to change, I'll just leave it. And then the more I left it, the more I was like, oh, this should be wets, definitely. And then the Fiesta's running treaded, sort of cut slick. That's obviously better for the wet, so I thought a Fiesta could probably win this race. So I was surprised how much grip it had. The Yokohama slicks were like brilliant, but it's just as soon as you hit standing water, you can feel it aquaplaning. But it was good, had fun. Good for the car control, just
bit of showboating.
A wee bit, but I was actually trying to heat the back tyres up so I had more heat, so I didn't lose their heat and their grip. So it was great. But obviously, big thanks to my mum and dad for putting up with me and helping me with the car, and A1 Automotive and Edinburgh Watch Company and Vortex Exhaust. Brilliant, spot on job by everyone. So good weekend.
Well, congratulations, Ollie. Go and celebrate.
Thanks very much.